the interior of the car and how the real car, like for example, along the roll bars, they have wires running that are zip tied, it looks like, to the roll bar. And even the zip ties are in the same spot between the iRacing car and the real car. Every little corner, every little thing matches up. You know, you look over on the left side of the roll car, kind of where the right door is, and there's all these little parts and extrusions, and they all match up perfectly.
Yeah, and we've talked before. I mean, like when they had released the video when they had scanned the new um oh gosh, right out of my head. What was the last GT3 car we got? McLaren, how they talked about going through the car and scanning the engine bay, the interior, and everything. So it's they don't lack for detail. But yeah, I mean this is the Lamborghini Huracan GT3. So yeah, it's spot on. It's again that's why we like doing what we do.
Well, and as technology evolves, like it's getting easier for them to scan it. Like remember, Mike, I remember when we first started with iRacing and seeing it, they just had that big camera they would set in the middle of the track, and now they got this thermal lens thing that they can scan a whole car, well, right where they're sitting by putting on the dots and things like that they got to rub on the car. Like everything's evolved for them in the last, I don't know, was it 15, 18 years that they've been around. So
Yeah,
it's so much easier. I'm not going to say it's easier, but there's more effective ways to get this detail too.
yeah. Used to have to when they scanned the cars, they would put the dots on there, but then they had to basically put like baby powder or something on the car in order for it to pick up the cloud and everything. So yeah, it's gotten tremendously easier.
Okay, and then Brad, when is too young too young?
So I ran across this. Actually, my wife sent this to me on Instagram. So this made me think about we talked last week with Chase Briscoe's son was turning laps in a dirt car, and I think he was like 3 or something we were talking about. And then my wife sends me this. This is a 5-year-old who hits 194 miles per hour in a Lamborghini. So for listeners, he's basically in a booster seat. I mean, this kid is in a booster seat in the car. I mean, his dad's, I guess I'm assuming it's his dad, sitting beside him while he gets up to 194 miles an hour. He's paddle shifting all his way on up. And it was pretty cool. So I don't know, 5 years
What
old.
the fracas? I don't even trust an adult to go that fast in the passenger seat. If I was in the passenger seat, and he's doing donuts.
Oh my, I didn't see the donuts until the end. So
Okay,
the kid is going down a straight drag strip. I'm like, okay, this isn't so bad. I mean, he's just going straight. He'll be able to slow down the car. But no, at the end, yeah, full on donuts by the 5-year-old.
what?
Now, this is a real car.
What the? Like what the? There's something. Oh my god! When you have too much money and too much time.
But look, the Briscoe kid, we was on a sim, okay? He was on iRacing. This is a real car. This is a little bit different. But can you imagine this kid on a sim? He probably got skill, mad
Well,
skill.
I'm wondering, is this the next prodigy that's gonna come along? Like, is this the next? Obviously it's a straight line. Like, it's not like he's holding it. But that is unbelievable. 194 miles per hour. What's the scenery going by would be impossible for his little eyes to comprehend.
The next phenom, I think, is Brexton Bush.
You mean the next baby in NASCAR? His
Look, the
art.
kid's got mad skill. He's got Kyle Busch genes. I mean, he's winning dirt races every week.
He'll be.
He's like, 6, 7 years old or however old he is. Yeah.
He's already taller than Gibbs.
Ouch. All right. Greg, how about Matt Busa giving a shout out?
Yeah, so Matt Busa on his Twitter page, he posted a second time in Formula 4 car. Shout out to iRacing and the Skip Barber RS, at Skip Barber RS, for continually giving opportunities for sim racers to chase their dreams. Hashtag sim to reality. So he got to go out and uh, be in the Skip Barber car again, I guess.
I think he was a part of that series that Skip Barber was offering, and obviously got some laps in the actual F4 car. He's got some pictures here of him in the car. He's got his sunglasses on and but helmet and everything. But what an opportunity! What a car to try to run! I can't imagine how fun that would be.
See, every time I think of the Skip Barber car, when this is a bad thing to think about, but when they get this chance from sim to reality, is when Gregor Hutu got the chance to run it, and then he vomited in his helmet and stuff. I feel bad for bringing that story up, but that's all I think about. It was like it was the first time that the sim to reality was like being shown to all of us, and it's like, uh, and that's what happened.
Well,
Not
we've
saying I'd
shown
be any,
better
be- I
than
wouldn't
this.
be, I probably wouldn't be any better.
Absolutely love racing the F4 car. So I can't. Yeah, and what's funny is all my devices are spying on me, obviously, because I get advertisements while in my social media of a real situation where you can pay somebody to run an F4 car, and I get these commercials. Like, I didn't look at how much it was, but it's I'm sure several $1,000s.
Am I becoming your TikTok crew chief or motivator?
All right, I got this one. We have Trading Paints is now on the Instagram, and they took the opportunity to talk about some of their stats. And so I had no idea that Trading Paints had stats like this, but 358,000 drivers. Now remember, there's only 250,000 on iRacing active. So I presume that's inactive as well.
It's probably
Yeah.
people that have it's probably accounts created.
Well, so I'll give you an example. Me being off the sim for 6 years, and I went back in and restarted my trading and paints account. All my paints were still there.
Yeah, so because you've been given an iRacing account number, and once that account number is there, it stays there.
Or people with multiple accounts. The other number is they have 600,000 paints in the showroom. That means paints that you can actually run. That's pretty impressive. 11.4 million custom paints uploaded. So those are your individual paints that we upload.
Thank God, goodness for the cloud, right?
Well, kind of do the math in your head. Okay, so there's a quarter million of us, and there's 11.4 million paints on there. So how many paints per racer are we actually uploading?
Yeah, but you got to think of guys like even think of like Bobby on our team. How many paints has he created? Like there's painters on there that are probably hundreds and maybe even thousands on alone on there, right? By one person.
I don't have a lot. I probably have 5 or 10. And then final number was 570,000 paint builder projects. Okay, Brad, we're moving on to those release notes. Was there anything else we should cover there?
Yeah, so the big thing was iRacing's finally now supports two-factor authentication. So, kind of a lengthy post here regarding how it can be configured. And then this also has to do with some issues with third parties using the data API. The iRacing Companion app's been updated as well. So I'm guessing you need to turn this on. I have not changed anything with my account, and I have not had to do any sort of two-factor authentication. Have you guys?
No, and I don't intend to either. I look, there's a lot of things I want to protect by two-factor authentication. My bank and my important documents and different things. My IRA, my retirement fund. those kind of things.
but
But
not.
when iRacing, I can't imagine why I need to protect it like that. Like I have a good password that nobody has, and I want it to be convenient for me. And I'm trying to run through the scenarios through my head. If somebody hacks my iRacing account, what is the worst thing that's going to happen?
They get your credit card number.
No,
Yeah.
I pay PayPal.
Okay, so then you're right. You're right where you need to. So unless you're really worried
There is
about,
nothing we can do.
well,
Like they can go wreck somebody, but then
they could tank your I
then what?
rating and safety rating. Like you could lose I rating, Mike. Like
Do you know
come
how
on.
valuable that is, Mike?
I just can't think of a scenario. Like why would somebody hack me, and then what would be their scenario?
A lot of people just hacked just because they can do it.
Well, it's just like what we had all the attacks against iRacing a few months ago. Never getting anything out of it other than just shutting things down. So a couple of things on here. We had race control issue, fix an issue where a race would fail to start if the entire field was starting from the pits. Kind of interesting, although come to find out, this was just a communication issue between iRacing track officials, Barney, the flagman, Fred, I guess, and the pace car driver. So there you go. Fix a heat racing issue. Did make some changes to the graphics. Texture loading algorithm has been updated for improved processing. I haven't seen anything different. They said they did fix a memory leak in the particle effect system, and then a few updates to some cars. Not really anything other here than strengthening some pieces on the cars. Then some tracks. Cadwell Park had some off-track surface properties corrected, so it's actually grass and it was behaving like pavement. They did fix the pace lap on the new spa, so it looks like we'll be back to not having to run the full pace lap like we did this season already. The one thing I did see, and I haven't tried it yet, but Road America says they track surface bump map's been regenerated, and they've updated signage and bridge textures around and some of the train colors as well. So haven't turned any laps at Road America, but that was repaved last year, I believe. I know we do not have an updated scan yet, so
There is a very bad bump on the last what? I think it's the last two corners before the last corner when you come up over that hill. I wonder what that's like with the new pavement now. I would guess it would be smoother because it used to bottom out there like hard.
yeah. I mean, I know last year when they raced there, you really couldn't get offline. This year was better, but it would be nice to have a new scan.
Well, is it the first time we've heard about Barney and Fred, the Flintstones? So Fred is the pace car driver. So we didn't. I think this is the first time we've been introduced to Fred, the pace car driver.
He's gonna have a Twitter account already now.
So title idea: Fred, the pace car driver.
It'll probably end up on the TikTok soon.
All right. Next up, we got iRacing put up on X a fantastic finishing lap here of the FIA Sim Magic F4 regional championships or world championships, I guess they're called. Um,
At
this has
Spa.
been fun to kind of watch, especially at the end here. They put up a nice end result here where there's about 5 or 6 of them. You could throw a blanket over these guys, all racing for the win. They fan out some 3 wide, 2, 3 deep at one point down this straight. Um, the F4 car is really fun, but you can't get away from each other, and this is
And
how the races end up.
it looks like it has so much drag at Spa. Like the car behind has such an advantage.
That's right. Like if you're out front, you can't get away. In fact, it's probably the worst place to be because they'll just slingshot you.
Well, and I thought that he was in the sitting like after they came off. Brad, what did you say that turn was that the girl crashed last week? That lady, that was
Blanchimont.
Blanchard. When they were coming towards that, um, I thought he was a sitting duck because they were all setting him up, and he blocked perfectly and then ran wide in the one corner. I'm like, okay, he overshot, he's going to get past. But what he did was like the perfect overshoot and taking of the corner, and it worked perfectly for him to still preserve that win.
You watch these things and you get jealous because sometimes we're in the races where people think they can do that and it ends up a total mess.
Impressive. Okay, Brad, how about why no karting in iRacing?
Yeah, so we got a video here from Get Good. So talks about we talked we I think DJ talked about the whole conspiracy with the cart. I can remember years ago it was teased. Probably, gosh, maybe 13 or 14 was a render of a cart wheel that sat on the forums forever. But
Wasn't it an April Fool's joke?
no, this was an actual scan. I mean, I can remember it. But
There's a picture of it in this video.
yeah, so it talks about karting's been tried in other sims, and what he basically lays out, and I never really thought about it. So if you think about a cart doesn't have any suspension, and the difficulty would be trying to model the way that the chassis flexes and the driver is plays such a huge part in the weight distribution in the cart. Um, so he's showing video of carts going around corners, and you can see how much they're flexing. So what he's basically saying is, while it's been tried in other sims, again, it just ends up being just too static of a platform. It's like driving a small car, where a cart's not like that. And he alludes to the fact of iRacing wanting to be, try to get things as accurate as possible. Just how difficult it would be to fit, to model the flexing of the chassis and the driver shifting weight and all of that. So I think he did a really good job. Never really thought about the chassis flexing that much, because you think about a cart, you just think about a rigid cart, but it's not. I mean, you watch this video and you see how much movement there is in the chassis, and yeah, I'm not sure.
It's
The,
the
the,
Sorry,
go ahead.
go ahead, keep going, Brad.
I'm trying to imagine the amount of physics and the calculations that would have to go into to try to get chassis flex, as opposed to just a traditional shock or a spring. You know how much movement you're going to get out of that.
Well, and the fact that the driver is the center of gravity. They're using the taller driver and a lower driver or a smaller driver. They have different centers of gravity. They have different weights and things like that. Like it's a very physical. Driving a go kart is a very physical task to do and to do properly. Um, but I also think this is the reason why you'll never see sports bikes or like motorcycle racing in here as well, because it's not just the vehicle, it's the operator that has to be modeled here, and it's just not something we do.
The takeaway I took from this video, which really made me think about it, was not everything you just said, but also there's an additional input to driving in these things that we don't have in iRacing. So if you think about iRacing, we have clutch, brake, throttle, steering, okay, gear shift, whatever. But with karting, you have leaning, you have shifting of weight, you have scrunching in the seat, sitting up in the seat, you have leaning to the left or right. And then how much do you lean to the left and the right? So how do you replicate that into I'm sitting in my cockpit and I want to I want to, lean to the right to try to make this corner. How do I input that into the sim?
I was just thinking about it, Mike. Brad, you were talking about the wind simulator, or not liking my wind simulator. Now we're gonna have motion simulator. We're gonna have things that we're gonna attach to our bodies while we're sitting in the
No,
rigs.
it's going to be the weight simulator.
Right, weight shift simulator where you
Mike,
have sensors on your body that sense you're going left and
you can't
right. Yeah.
you can't race in it. You have belts. You have to take your belts off. You can't wear your belts when you're
Oh,
using it.
But I mean, look, that's if you think about it, it makes perfect sense. Every any car, the car itself is modeled. The driver is strapped in the car. The driver's not moving. Yes, when There's no weight involved in the driver, but that's calculated into the mass of the car. I'm sure iRacing uses some average weight. I don't know, say 175 pounds, whatever it is. But that weight is fixed. The weight itself never moves.
Isn't that the ballast they add to the car though to make the cars all weigh the same depending on who the driver is?
Correct.
So someone like Tony Stewart to compared to Danica Patrick weight wise, they'd have more ballast in the car for Danica.
Yes, a lot
Other
more.
issues that the video brought up was it's not just scanning one cart, they need to scan a dozen cart manufacturers or more to really cover it because there's so many different variations in karting across the world.
But how do you? But like Brad was saying, how do you determine the reason they're different brands is because they flex differently. They do like how do you model flex in something that you can only register it when it's under load?
Well, and then if you look at motorsports in general and the way the ladder system works, it's a really good question why we don't have karting and iRacing because we have everything else. I mean, we have everything but. I mean, and karting is so important in the ladder system, especially in Europe. You know, you look at a Max Verstappen or a Lewis Hamilton, where did they start? They got their start in karting.
Now, if you watch any like Mike, I can see on your screen right now what you're watching here. When you're watching whatever rendering that was of some of I don't know what they made that in, it looks so stiff the way it's rendered there, and it just I just don't think you can. Karting is such a physical thing, and I don't think you can make it look physical in this sim.
Well, it's like you said, it's like motorcycle racing. You know, the way that the drivers shift their body, and then when you set up for a corner, you know, it's not just your knee, it's your elbow, it's where your butt is, if it's on the seat, off the seat. I mean, it's all part of you're basically part of the vehicle. You know, you're not driving the vehicle, you've become one with it, and you're part of how that entire vehicle is getting around the track.
Could you imagine motion with a karting rig? You'd have to fly off your rig for it to be authentic.
So the motion part reminds me of the motorcycle with the sidecar, and the guy in the sidecar is like laying completely off the side of it, trying to shift the weight.
If you've ever watched any of the companies that make that have tried the motorcycles as well, it's a very stiff looking game too. It's not there is no sim aspect to ever. It always looks arcadey, and it just really hard to do.
Which brings us to the next one, Greg. Do we have a 2025 Olympic esport?
So I haven't read through this one, Mike. Do you want to take this one?
Yeah, we have a report from Esports Insider that the global governing body of world motorsports, the FIA, is looking for game developers to partner with on an Olympic esports games project.
Yeah, so
The aim is,
go ahead.
yeah, I'll read one more sentence here. The aim is to create a platform in order to do these Olympic esports games.
Yeah, so it goes on to talk a little bit about some of the existing titles that are out, whether it's iRacing, Assetto Corso. There's was talk about, could you do something with titles like Rensport or Le Mans Ultimate? But those I think would probably be a failed opportunity to go after. But look, I guess this is happening. We joked kind of about this during the Olympics, but I mean, I guess as crazy as this sounds, I guess this is going to happen. If the FIA is working on this, then they're not going to waste their money and time unless it's something's going to happen.
The only thing that I think is hard to do this with is it's virtual. So what if something crashes or a connection's lost or like could you imagine a you're leading and the server crashes somehow or
You,
like
you got to bring them in locally, Greg. You got to
I
have
know,
these
but
drivers
okay,
local.
so but
Local.
like there's still things that could go wrong. Like I guess it's no different than anything. You know, you're on a bicycle and in the Summer Olympics and you have a chain break or something like that or
Well,
whatever.
take it out of sim racing. I mean, the esports. There's what Call of Duty. I mean, these things. I mean, there's huge championships, competitions, and all. It was like the guy that's driving the Porsche now. We talked about him, the Call of
Doing
Duty guy.
both, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I mean, think of what. How many times does something happen to us when we're racing people around the world? It's very rare that we have issues. Think about it.
It's true.
Look at the Coke race finale at the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Money on the line, being broadcast, live audience. All the the check marks are there for an esport event, and it went off flawlessly. Nobody got screwed.
I just think that I think if I was thinking in my head, okay, just to come back to the racing side with it, do you do like um, what do you call like when you have multiple events where you make someone good at esports in general, where if it was just the racing aspect, you'd have road and oval and dirt and whatever part of it. If you used iRacing, would you do different races or would you have specialties? You're good at just an oval um, champ or not championship or for gold medal for the oval for things like just
That's what
separated
I would
type thing.
think.
I feel like this may be something where could we have an esports Olympics in general, just like their own separate thing someday?
I like
I
the
don't know.
integration with the actual Olympics, though. I think it brings it more clout, right? You win in a gold medal, it's actually the same medal that a different athlete wins. That's kind of neat. Okay, moving on. I'll take this one. We got a listener who sent this in, and he's got a league that he wanted to announce, and I agreed to announce it here on the show. But it's called the International Open Cup Series NASCAR League. It's based on 100% distance, um, with races at a European friendly Friday evening time. So the race start is Friday, 9:10 p.m. Paris Brussels time, which is UTC plus 2. There's a nominal fee for entry. Participation is €5. You have to have more than 2,000 I rating on oval. So there are some key factors. They do have a Discord. You can get involved by going to our script and finding more information. They're going to have stage races as well in the 100% race.
This reminds me of kind of how things were back when the early days of Papyrus with NASCAR, 2003 and all that, to where you had the best sim out there was an oval sim. So you had leagues like this all over the world of people just racing ovals. Um, it's pretty neat.
I forget the guy's name who sent this. We race with him all the time, and he's from France. He's in the NIS series. Forget his name though. Right, that takes us to the next special event, Petite.
Yep. So we got the Petite Le Mans. The iRacing Petite Le Mans, sponsored by VCO, is this weekend. We touched on it last week. Again, your traditional um, 4 time slots: Friday, Saturday, and then the Sunday for us guys in America. Again, Road Atlanta, license D 4.0. 30-minute warm up, 8-minute qualifying. So it's 10-hour race. Weather's dynamic. Um, the regular race starts at noon and concludes around 10 p.m. So 3 classes: GTP, LMP2, GTD. They've announced all of the VOP. Not going to go through that. So I know we've got a group of guys that are going to run a GTP. Um, I would have loved to have done this in the GTD, but I got too much stuff going on Saturday, and my normal guy who does my does the endurance stuff with me, Justin, is out of the country.
And then, Greg, we have the time attack start for the IMSA Esports Global Championship.
Yeah, so the time draws near for the 2024 IMSA Esports Global Championship. Was that the third annual version of it? Just trying to find the date here. I didn't see what it was or the time was.
It's November or something. Yeah, it's kind of hard to read this, but it's a chance for non-pros
Oh,
to get involved in the event.
November 24th, and it starts at Road Atlanta.
Yeah, so this is going to mirror the traditional sprint races for IMSA. So it'll be 2 hour and 40-minute races. So typically you have two drivers. But like Mike said, this has typically been a pro only event in the past, but they're opening up to everybody. So you got opportunity to time attack to qualify to get yourself in. Again, you're going to have a pretty good I rating, I'm guessing, or be very quick to get in. But yeah, I mean, this is pretty neat. I'm glad to see them open it up to just a regular guys.
And then next up, this week in iRacing, Brad, anything we missed or?
Let's see. I don't think so. Petit Le Mans we covered. NASCAR iRacing Series is at Las Vegas this week. FIA F4, the regionals we've got in the Americas. We've got Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Asia Pacific is at Winton Motor Raceway. Europe is at Sachsenring, and then the Challenge Series, which is the fixed setup, is at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve as well. Prodigy Racing League, the passes are available, so that's going to be week 6. The normal Ringmeisters, Draftmasters, Rainmasters, and whatnot. So all kind of your normal stuff there. In the IndyCar Pro Racing Series is at Barber Motorsports Park. No, where's it at? I'm sorry, Indy Oval. My bad.
Indy Oval, yeah.
In 30 minutes from now.
That's right. It goes on while we're here. Didn't they know better?
And I'm going to continue to bug all our listeners from now for the next year about the Sim Gaming Expo 2025. We want everyone to have this memorized. I want to try to support this as best we can. What I intend to do is after we get past the German Expo this weekend, I'm going to try to find who's involved in the Sim Gaming Expo and ask them some more questions about it and see if we can get some more information, basically.
Definitely going to be attending that.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Chicago, September 5th through the 7th.
Yep. Like we said last week, I think it's going to be a great opportunity for everybody on the team to get together.
Podcast housekeeping. Leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform to make it easier for more listeners to find the podcast. Mention the podcast to your fellow drivers so they don't miss out. We would appreciate it. Check out our Discord and get involved in the discussion. We have our show notes, iRacersLounge.com. And we're in regular rotation over at the Performance Motorsports Network. Get your hats and merchandise at iRacersLounge.shop. Fantasy, Brad.
Yep. So the Fantasy League rolled into Charlotte this past week for the Roval. Coming out with the win was Team Dewan with 262 points, followed by Jedi McFly. Third was Race Attic. Fourth was JTC 11C. And then we had 4 people tied for 5th. So pretty tight on points here. We had Canadian, Dollar Cents, Mud Dog, Smiling Ninja, and Shane 7272. So Roval, yeah, we need to go back to the Oval. That's all I want to say.
I think everyone's in kind of conjunction on that. I mean, what happened Saturday that made me so mad with NASCAR? What would happen on Saturday? Oh yeah,
Parker Kligerman.
Parker Kligerman. famous sim car driver or sim racer, Parker Kligerman, who's done a lot for sim racing in his racing career. He was on the verge of his first win. I mean, he passed Shane Van Gisbergen like clean and drove away. Look, I feel like he got robbed.
Well,
The right
look,
call was made.
it was, but it should have happened about 20 seconds earlier.
And
But as usual, NASCAR waits. Again, they bring this all on themselves. That's the frustrating part of it.
they could have looked out the window and gone, "Hey, maybe if I wait, 5 seconds longer again." I mean, we're still going to be talking about it that he got gifted the win or whatever, or something like that. It would go the other way, but it's so hard to like NASCAR decisions. It is one of the hardest things to do.
Well, it's like I said in the chat. I'm done with the green white checkers. I'm just too much of a traditionalist. A race is advertised for a certain number of laps. That's what it should be. If a yellow comes out, we finish just finish the race. That's the second race this year that, I mean, look, had we didn't have the stupid green white checkers, Austin Dillon has the best car at Richmond and would have been in, but he gets forced into doing stupid stuff. Parker Kligerman won that race, and I'm just, like I said, I am tired of the green white checkered stuff. It just, you know, I,
It
uh,
creates more problems than it solves.
Look, they could have waited a heartbeat, a second later, a half second later, and then pushed the button after the white had been given, and it would have solved the whole problem. I mean, if they were going to wait until that moment, they should have waited until after he crossed the line.
well,
That
My
it's
take.
that's
yeah,
why I
it's
believe it's manufactured.
well, it's the inconsistency. We talk about this all the time. Let's go back to Indy, the late yellow at Indy. That, what was it? Priest is sitting off of turn two, and they wait and wait and wait, and I swear they waited long enough to where what, Larson's going to take the freaking white flag and win the race. Again, that's the problem. There's nothing consistent ever with NASCAR.
Or then there's a when a car brushes the wall and keeps going, and it's out before the car is even off the wall.
There's enough where there's smoke, there's fire. I mean, every week NASCAR officiating is becoming the topic, and it's old. I call for Brad Moran to step down or to be replaced as director of NASCAR. Um, he is responsible. It's his job to make this right. And if him and his team can't do it, then by God, they need to get different people in there. Let's bring in some ex drivers. You know,
You
let's
got
have.
that. You got Elton Sawyer, and every week he has to come out and give some stupid explanation that he talks in circles about every single week.
But he's just a talking head. We need people that are in the booth that have their finger on the button that are different.
But how hard is it to even bring someone on like junior every couple weeks to to make an actual educated decision with certain things? Like I know we don't want to get to what the FIA and they do where they bring in ex racers, but they're all every time FIA does it too, they're irrelevant racers back from the past as well. Like it just seems like some of the people that should know what they're doing are racers that didn't have great careers.
I love that idea. Let's bring in a guest. What do you call it? Moderator or admin? Somebody like who happens to be there for the weekend. Oh, Carl Edwards is here as a guest. Let's have Carl Edwards up there, and let him
So
put his finger on the button.
that's a horrible idea. Horrible idea. You need to have, there needs to be consistency. So I look, this is where I vote. Bring David Hoots back. We need to bring David
There you
Hoots
go.
back.
Somebody
So
who knows what they're
He was
doing.
fired.
yeah, I know. So all right, so we're on to Las Vegas. Well, let's finish up with the Cup side. So we race finishes. Kyle Larson wins. Everybody, Bowman is in. Bowman is in till they try to wait a car. Car is light. So now Joey Logano's in because Bowman is given a last place finish. So my question to you guys is, should Logano have been in, or should it just been left at 7 drivers?
You have to do the 8. It's just the way it has to be because technically Bowman finished last. Logano finished where he finished in the race and did it legally.
Yeah, he stays in, I think, because it's all based on finishing position. And so what happened with Alex Bowman, affected the finishing position. Look, in this case, NASCAR got it right. They handled it correctly, I think. Um, it was appropriate. They just moved him down to the last car on the lead lap or whatever it was, and let the chips fall where they may as far as the points go. So
He was DQ'd with
I'll
0
I'll
points,
give
Mike.
NASCAR I'll give NASCAR credit just once. They got this call right.
All right, so we're at Vegas this week. Who do we like?
Reddick, Larson, Hamlin.
So this wasn't it here? Was it here or was it Homestead where Denny had the steering linkage break last year and he wrecked out and cost the championship?
Was it Vegas or at Kansas? No, yeah, it would have been Vegas then.
Yeah, I think it was either Vegas or Homestead. I don't remember which, but yeah, I don't know how you bet against Larson. Yeah, it just seems like this may be his year.
Agreed. Yeah, he's my pick out of the Final Four for sure. I
Is it
don't
just
think
me or is Bell having the quietest year for being
Every
a
year.
contender?
Every year, he's never talked about it, and all of a sudden he's going to pop up and be in the Final Four. All right, so playoff standings, we've got iRace Too Slow in the lead. Smiling Ninja second. Team Duan is third. Race Addict fourth. And then fifth is Stu24. And then our overall, we've got Canadian still in the lead. Second, Dollar Cents. Third, Stu24. Fourth, Connor Truman. Fifth, NASCAR Jedi 2. And Tyler Williamson, teammate, Fat Boy 1990 in 10th place.
All right, hardware, software. Our lead story, Sim Lab calls their shot. And they are making some very bold claims this week. They are introducing their new direct drive wheelbase at the Sim Racing Expo this weekend. We are making a bold claim. This will be the best direct drive wheelbase on the market. So before we jump into the CEO's other thoughts on this, what are your initial takes when you hear that statement, guys?
Another wheelbase. It's almost like with Formula wheels. It's like, okay, another wheelbase.
That's a tough thing to make a statement for.
Yeah.
Being new to the direct drive base market, I think it's pretty bold of them to say that. The other thing that came to mind when I initially saw this first post was, who are they buying or paying IP for the software to make it the best? Like, are they buying SimiCube software like Asetek did when they did their wheelbase? Are they buying the intellectual property from SimiCube, or what's the story? So let's answer that. So later on in the week, we had a Reddit post from none other than the CEO of SimLab, Richard Schorturen. And I'm going to read some of this, what he wrote. There's been a lot of speculation that we bought intellectual property from SimiCube, which is similar to what Asetek did. Let me clarify that's not the case. We partnered with some of the top experts in motor controllers, and the results have been exceeding even our initial expectations. We wouldn't make bold claims unless we were absolutely confident in what we've achieved. Every person outside of our team who has test driven it has been blown away, with many even saying, I need this. I'm selling my SimiCube. And yes, that includes sim racers who own the SimiCube Ultimate. But what sets us apart? For starters, we're using a sophisticated DSP microprocessor a technology designed for high-speed, low-latency applications. SimiCube relies on an all-purpose ARM STM microprocessor, which, while reliable, is becoming a bit outdated. DSP, the same tech used by Tesla for their motor control, offers a more advanced and efficient way to drive a server motor. Our partner has been refining the firmware for this DSP motor controller for over 10 years. It's optimized, battle tested, and ready to deliver top tier performance. Hence why we seem to be coming out of nowhere with a DD solution. Paraphrase one more section here. He said the SimiCube runs a 360-watt power supply. We're going to offer a 1,000-watt power supply.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna.
Chinese motors versus European motors. Finally,
Yeah, the power supply thing was interesting. Doing a little bit of reading on that, I believe there were some. I guess what was it? Fanatec. The only difference between the maybe a couple of the bases was just the strength of the power supply, if I'm correct.
Yep.
So now he does go on to say that the SimiCube 2 Ultimate does use a European made motor, doesn't use a Chinese made motor. So but I think, was it in this one or was where I read somewhere else? They're going to have different levels of this too. So there will be probably some sort of an entry level, the sub $1,000. So it's not like they're just going to be releasing a super high end. It looks like they're going to do a full, I guess, somewhat tiered ecosystem as well.
So now all these manufactured rims and stuff like that, people are gonna have to create either an adapter or whatever to make them work with it. I guess coming out.
Yeah, because it said they're going to have a newly designed proprietary quick release system as well. But I mean, if quick releases are, as long as something can be easily mounted, either whether it's I guess what, a 50 millimeter or 60 millimeter bolt pattern, should be fine. I mean, I don't think there's really an issue there. But yeah, I mean, I didn't see this one coming. SimLab, it's just been a chassis manufacturer, right?
well, they did the Lewis Hamilton replica wheel with
They've done wheels, that's right.
So what you're saying is, I might be coming into the direct drive market right at the right time.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what a great time to be in sim racing.
Is
There's
it,
so much stuff out there right now.
do you think this will help? Will this help bring down prices though with another thing, or is it just still going to be what they are?
I think it'll make the overall competition landscape more competitive, and it could result eventually in lower pricing. I don't think initially it will, but look, I think it's a very bold claim what they say about the software and the and so forth. And this company has a good reputation of good equipment. I mean, I own their chassis, the P1X. So does David. Um, it's the highest quality chassis at the time when we bought it. It was the one to get for sure. And so I'm very excited for this. I think that anyone in the market for a DD direct drive like Greg or otherwise, you wait until we get the reviews on this thing. Don't buy nothing until you see this because this could be the one to buy based on what I'm seeing.
I'm not in the market for a while, but there's always that possibility when my wheel finally decides to conk out that I'm gonna have to switch markets.
Okay, Greg, another fantastic product we saw this week was the Turtle Beach Velocity One multi-shift.
Before I read the title of this when I first saw this, I'm like, I thought someone stole this from like their car console and they were creating something from it. It looks it looks very console or car console-y, but yeah. So Turtle Beach has come up with a new shifter that they're releasing here for PC and console gaming, um, which is interesting that Turtle Beach is in this market now since they're mostly gaming peripherals for like headphones and things like that. But so it's going to be an H gate and a sequential shifter. It's going to have 7 gears, And then obviously being the sequential, it's got, like I said, it was going to be PC capable and obviously console based too. So pretty cool. I guess you can pre-order them now. Does it say when they're being released?
Middle of November. So just a couple things on this. It could be used in say a truck sim. You can engage there's a high and a low, so you got up to 16 gears, which is kind of interesting. But
I'm wondering if it gets modded to have a different type, the right way of actually how an 18 speed works instead of that button that's on the thing.
yeah, I know. But so I want to. I just want to. I don't hate to sound like Debbie Downer, but I want to just pause a little bit here. It's Turtle Beach, okay? It's $130. It looks like there's a lot of plastic. I mean, it's just this is a no go for me. I don't see this thing lasting very long, and if you're on a rig every single day, I don't see a whole lot of difference between this and say the Logitech G20 975, whatever it is now. I don't know.
When I looked at this, like I was saying, it looks plasticky. It looks like it's right from a console of a car. I probably have the same worry you do, Brad, with the way I shift gears for like using the sequential, and I was using it for like using for the roval there when I'm banging through the sequential. I'm hitting it pretty hard, so I feel like it would snap off.
It's got a clamp. It's a desk clamp kind of
There's got to
connection,
be. I'm
which
guessing there's the 4 bolt pattern on the bottom too that you can use to mount it to a rig or this. I didn't see the ones. Is there a side view of it? Do they have any side
They,
ones?
looking at the website, there is looks like you can bolt it from the bottom, but yeah.
look, it's an entry level gear shift. I mean, and you pay 130, you
That's pretty
get what you pay for.
expensive though. I guess maybe not for entry level. I guess what we're paying for when we buy our higher end ones.
Look, the initial look at it though is like, wow, it looks like it's right out of a real car because it's got the little rubber surround coming up over the thing, and it's got some carbon fiber and whatnot. And the initial look is like it looks kind of cool, but you're right. When you look deeper, it's very plasticky, and yeah, look, you compare this to what I have now, the Russian analogs. It's all thick metal with a big metal shaft and
Like
thick metal box that it goes into.
I give Fnatic a lot of crap for their shifter because their first shifter was garbage, and I still have it, and it only works as a sequential. But it was still metal, and it was still withstand doing a lot of what you can do in sim racing. It just the inner workings didn't last for very long with dust. They just couldn't. Dust and dirt was the only thing that was its the Achilles heel. It wasn't the actual build quality of the product.
So just to add on to that, I decided this week I was going to run some trucks and some B cars, and now I've got the Fanatec Club Sport shifter, and I was missing gears through H pattern in every race, and yeah, not good. Caused some accidents because I literally it would be in third, but it would be in first.
Do you have
Pretty
the first
embarrassing.
version or the second one?
Second, I just bought it last year.
So they still had the problem after they.
Very, very frustrated. Let me tell you,
That's.
very frustrated to be a
I
year
thought they
old.
fixed it.
Yeah, I'm very frustrated.
Um,
Q&A logs.
the speaking of I think it's interesting because obviously they're talking about you were talking there about this having a trucking or a farming thing to it, and I was looking the other day at Thrustmaster had a farm simulation control for the thing, so I was looking at getting that for when I play Farm Simulator. You can shake your head all you want. But I'll use my wind simulator and I'll put manure behind it. So
I was gonna
like
say, yeah, that's right, that's right. You got to get some manure scented candles.
Moving on, Brad, we have Sim Magic releasing a new pedal set.
Yeah, so we had this has been teased for a couple weeks. So Sim Magic supposed to be debuting this, I believe, at ADAC this weekend as well. It's the P500, so it's going to be an entry level um, pedal set. Looks like it's going to have haptics on there as well. Don't know a ton about it yet, but look, they continue to deliver, and I'm not saying that just because I do own Sim Magic wheelbase. We started with the 2000s, which is super high end, the P1000s, which is still a very good pedal set. We've got some guys on the team that have it, but yeah, I don't know a ton about this one yet. But I mean, it looks good. It's very comparable to most of your entry levels. Sim Magic, I think, continues to just kind of come out of the box with stuff. I mean, it's what we talked about. I think competition's great.
Based on the model numbers, the 2000 you said was the best. The thousands are lesser, and so this P500 must be even lesser, more of maybe an entry level pedal set.
Yeah, that's how I would take it.
Okay, I got the next one. We have a Sim Design Simicube shaft extension. Now this is cool. He shows some pictures on his Instagram of the pieces coming out of the CNC or whatever, however he's making it, and it's got basically a pretty thin shaft, probably not thicker than 1 inch diameter, and then a round black plate circle that it mounts to, that mounts to the base and so forth, and to the quick release. And so the idea is that it's just a wheel extender. It looks lightweight. It looks very stiff when you look at the final picture of it all put together. Um, Pretty neat idea. Now, if I was still looking for a solution, because the solution I ended up with is I bought two uh, regular wheel extenders off of Amazon that are about this length and ended up with the same result. But this looks to be a cleaner, better result. Maybe less
Well,
weight.
yeah, but also the way this is with that narrow shaft is if you're trying to get your wheelbase behind your monitor, think about the shafts that you've got, Mike. They're probably what, about the same size as the quick release.
Yeah, it's very thick.
So if you think about if you're trying to bring your monitor down to get it as low as possible, this has got probably, I don't know what, another half inch, maybe an inch to where you can bring that monitor down. We looked at one of these similar to this, and I can't remember the name of it a while back, but similar concept. You're going to have that very narrow shaft, which if you think about it, would allow you to you see how your quick release is going to go on here, but think about where that monitor could be. That monitor could be half an inch behind, down into that groove, which I think would be super ideal when you're trying to work on getting a very good FOV.
And I don't really have that problem with my big triples, but I still need to get that wheel closer to me because look, I could take all the upright and just move it closer, so I don't need the extension on either wheel. But I kind of want it away from me. I don't like, I'm a little claustrophobic. I don't want that dash right up against me. I want a wheel extension. So, yeah, if I was doing it over and I had already figured a solution, I'd probably get something like this. And then, Brad, how about Conspit Halo? This looks interesting.
Yes, we got an Instagram post from Conspit. This is the Halo 270. So it's basically it's a 270-degree um, by using it's screened by using three high definition projectors to create an immersive in-game visual experience. Um, Projectors are nothing new. This has been around for quite a while. It's a lot of money. Um, I think it's an interesting concept. Um, yeah, it had to be the right. You'd have to have the right cockpit for this. I just can't. 16,000 euro. That's a lot of money.
That seems like it's too much for what it is. I mean, the three projectors, the wraparound, seamless screen with no seams. Um, Look, we saw a company maybe a couple years ago on this show doing this in England. Um, it was about the same price, if I remember right, or more. But yeah, it's not cheap.
I
And
just
the noise, the heat.
yeah, the noise, the heat. I mean, with LEDs, I mean, there's so many better ways to do this. I mean, there's you're never going to get the resolution out of a projector that you're going to get out of a screen. That would be my thing.
Oh, let's compare this to what I have. So this isn't too much bigger than what my triple 48s are, physically, the footprint of it. Yeah, it has a little more wraparound, but not much. What did I pay total for the stand and monitors? 3,000 total. This is 16,000. I mean, compare those two things.
Well, the other thing is too. I mean, I'm trying to envision 260 degrees. If I'm if I'm in iRacing and I have 270-degree field of view, like the window net is going to be behind my head. Am I right?
You're not looking behind you, right? You're going to look around the corner and look around your back,
I mean,
looking for your blind spot.
yeah. I mean,
This would be
the
good
game
for
the game doesn't
construction.
support. Yeah, it doesn't support 270. I mean, do you follow what I'm saying?
You're
It's like
right. It doesn't. It
you need
doesn't even
something that does a
go that
full
wide.
look around. You need this would be good for like a transportation simulator, or like the truck simulator, or a construction or farming simulator, because you could use the whole view around. But I don't know. It's too much. Like I think even having my triple wrapper, my triples on curves, sometimes feels like it's too much. But that just you don't look that far back. There's no one checking their blind spot like it's their driver's or test.
Yeah, I'm not leaning looking over my shoulder to back up.
Okay, Greg, how about Cooler Master and their new DIN X simulator?
I'm not even sure what this is.
It's a tubular cockpit, is what
Oh,
I
so
would call it.
they're just their tubular simple tubular cockpit, I guess, is what they're showing here, and they're going to be at the Sim Expo with it.
Yeah, they're going to unveil it there, and it like you said, it's probably an entry level kind of tubular cockpit. We've seen Cooler Master show off one a few weeks ago that was much nicer than this one, so I'm a little confused.
I don't know. I understand where they're saying being among the first to test the innovative Dyna X on site, or Dana DNYX on site. Cooler Master is pushing the boundaries of sim racing technology, not with a tubular frame.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it, there's some adjustability. I guess you can swing it up or down depending on whether you want a Formula position or a GT to some degree. But yeah, it's again, it's tubular. You're trapped. I mean, I've said this before. My previous chassis was tubular, and you couldn't do anything to it. It was very limited on what you could add or what you could do to it.
Do you see like when someone says they're innovating and pushing the boundaries? I think of that company a couple years ago, Mike, that we had on the podcast that had that one where you would just quickly it would go from
It
huh
was VTEC.
VTEC, yeah, it would go from sports car to Formula to upright real easily, and they were all machine cut. It was kind of cool, but I just don't see a tubular being really innovative in this and with what we got now with 24 or uh frick I'm
80
80
20.
20. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. I was gonna call it 2040. But anyways, yeah, it's I don't know. It looks like a cool uh tubular frame if you want something basic. I just don't know. I wonder what the price tag on this is.
We'll find out. The show is this weekend, so we're going to have quite a script next week, I bet. Next up, I have a MME Motorsport to debut their 8-shifter EVO2 at ADAC. And this is a H pattern. There's a knob on the side that switches it from 4 to 6 pattern, 4 to 6 gears, I presume. Uh, Kind of plasticky look. It's got some carbon fiber on the front. Um, Compared to the Turtle Beach, though, this actually looks a little more stout.
Yeah, this is so MME Motorsport. They make stuff for cars. So they have a sim division, but they're building like stuff for actual cars. This thing looks to be pretty freaking solid. I mean, looking at the picture on the guts, I mean it. This is no joke. I think they're out of Slovenia, maybe. I was looking at this because I started to have shifter issues the other night. Um, this thing is beefy, man.
And it does sequential. So it's H pattern and sequential. It has reverse lockout. Like I said, 4 or 6 speed switch. And then there's longer horizontal movement for smoother gear shifts. Okay, Brad, next up is Thrustmaster, the T598 pre-order.
Yeah, so we talked about this I think last week. This is the new uh,
Direct
Thrustmaster.
axial.
Yeah, that's right, direct axial. This is the greatest and latest from Thrustmaster. Yeah, the first shot we've had of it. It's, I know we're gonna get some bad people on the Discord, but it's Thrustmaster. It's 5 Newton meters. The pedals look pretty cheap. Um, I don't
Why
know.
is
I
the
just
space so much on pedals with 2 pedals?
I don't know. I mean, again, if you're in the console market, then this is probably a good option for you. I assume that the wheel will still fit in their ecosystem because they do have somewhat of an ecosystem for their wheels. But I don't know. Yeah, not me.
It's a hard no. It's $500 for the base, the wheel, and the pedals. Look how deep the base is. How long is it, or the length of it? It's only like 6 inches deep.
Well, that in the wheelbase is I mean, it's like 80% of the size of the rim. I'm trying to imagine that thing sitting in front of. I'm trying to imagine it sitting in front of a screen. I can't even imagine that.
You'd have to have it on an angle just to try and get it to disappear. But even the wheel seems like it's way too close to the actual
You hit
base
your
part.
knuckles.
Yeah, I feel like there's no gap in behind to where you can, like I'd be worried when you get to like a formula wheel or something, it'd be even pull you even further in, right?
Okay, and then Greg, how about the Asher Racing? They debut a new wheel at the expo.
So they got a formula style wheel with a display. I guess their slogan for it's "Make it personal." This actually is a really nice looking wheel. I like um, the LED coloring for all the buttons. They all seem like they're in great locations for it. It looks like a. Is there anything really that stands out on this besides the screen? It's got a really nice display and everything, but it doesn't seem like it's like anything spectacular.
So, if you recall, Asher has that McLaren, beautiful McLaren wheel. They offer the one without the screen, the one with the screen. There's one with more buttons, one with less buttons. They have a few different versions. This is basically, to me, the McLaren version with the screen, but it doesn't have the McLaren branding.
So you can
Instead, it has, in this picture, it has hashtag your ultimate is what they put on it. But with the caption below saying make it personal, the way I look at this is you get to submit what you want to put printed on the front of the wheel there. You can have Tifosi Racing or
frozen
iRacers
cactus,
Lounge,
frozen cactus.
right?
So
A frozen cactus,
yeah,
right?
So I guess the interesting thing will be to see what's the difference price wise. So how much are you actually paying to have McLaren put on there versus whatever you want to
That's a
have?
dangerous game to play when you start marketing after the McLaren came. Like if this is after the McLaren,
It's the same wheel. It's the exact same
like
wheel. I'm looking at the picture
it's
of it
probably
here.
not going to be that much cheaper.
Look, we gave them a hard time though because they only had the McLaren wheel. What if I don't want it to have a McLaren on it? What if I'm a Mercedes fan? You know,
Well, it's like back in the day with Fanatec, you had the BMW rim. I mean, I had yeah. So put a piece of tape over that. You don't drive a McLaren.
okay, Brad, how about an RGB logo light from SimSport Gadget? This is slick.
Yeah, I've looked at these a few times. I bought some stuff from some sport gadgets. It's an RGB light. You can get these in different manufacturers. So designed to you can put them like on your rig, on a wherever you got your computer. You could actually put them in the computer. It's pretty neat. They just plug into either I guess your regular RGB. I think you can get them to where they're USB, where they'll plug in. So I mean, it's just another way to kind of decorate your rig or your PC. I can't see my PC because it's on the backside of my monitors, and there is one side of it is all nice clear glass, so there's some RGB in there, but it faces the wall, and I don't really care.
Basically, like
So
mine.
I don't care. So it doesn't matter to me. It's the last thing I want to do is see light from my PC while I'm racing.
Oh, I have the polar white build of my computer, and I can actually see my computer. It's below my right triple, so it's always visible. It's got a lot of glass. At one point, I even speculated, oh, I could turn this into a Star Wars computer and put little Star Wars things inside of it, like a white stormtrooper helmet or something. But I decided to go with something more uncluttered. I think it just clutters it up. This is kind of a neat idea if you want to brand, represent your brand, Fanatec or whatever. Put it inside the PC. That's kind of a neat look. I kind of like it, but I'm not going to do it. Okay, Brad, this next video got me going because he always said it's a proper bit of kit.
Yes, I think we looked at this already. This is the Mercedes F1 wheel that is super expensive, um, but it's basically a complete replica of what. Um,
Lewis Hamilton.
yes, thank you, Lewis uses. Um, yeah, I mean the Brits can say a bit of kit better than I can.
Lewis designed that rim years ago, uh, personally to himself.
Look, why is this video notable? I think it's because of who the video is. It's James Baldwin. He is the official sim guy for Mercedes-AMG Formula One. So he does their sim work. Okay, so if you're not asking Lewis himself or George Russell about the wheel, I can't think of a better person who might be familiar with the equipment than the guy who's running the sim. Because I presume they use the same wheel.
The Yeah, well, they use in their sim it would be the actual proper. Their sims are way. It would be the exact same wheel that he'd be running in his real life. But um, who's the brand? Who makes this rim?
Sim Labs, the
Oh, it's
one that we
SimLabs.
talked
Okay,
about at
okay,
the
it is
top of
SimLabs.
the
Okay,
show.
okay.
The the other thing that's fascinating is this paddle on the back. Like he's got this rocker panel, but there's also this one on the bottom of the wheel that's hinged on the left side, and he's only activating it with the right side. I mean, I've never seen a wheel with that before. Look at the 1 minute mark, 1 minute 18. Fascinating. What a wheel, If you have the money, why not?
So this is they're you're pushing forward to shift gears. Is that right?
And that rocker one, I don't even know. That's what I was kind of looking at all these things on the back of the wheel, going, "What the
No,
hell's
it
going on
rocks on a teeter totter in it, so you're pulling it back still, and one side goes one way up, and then it moves back and forth.
Gotcha.
I have it on my rim too here.
Now my rim is independent. Like
Yeah,
you pull the left one, it doesn't change the right one.
yeah, that's the way mine is.
Here, I don't know if you guys can see in my thing here. It's all one piece. So when I click
Teeter
on
totter, right?
yeah, so when I click on this one side, the other side goes up.
I see. But what is this other one that he has at the bottom of the back of the wheel that is just hinged down one side? That's what's fascinating.
That I think has to do with his launch control or his that he has something that he does specifically for each race because he always takes his one hand off the top of the wheel and puts it on top. I think it's for um, I can't remember what it's. There's a certain technique he has, and he has this paddle on the back of it for it. I can't remember what it is though that he does it for. I think it's for the launch,
So it's a clutch.
probably, or
Oh, it
it's
is a
like the
launch
double.
clutch.
Yeah,
It's a proper bit of kit, he said. Now moving on, the next one, SemiCube Active Pedal Pro, a closer look. And SemiCube put up a Instagram post this week. They call it Art in Motion, and they show a see-through view of what the internals look like inside this active pedal. Kind of neat to see the mechanism itself.
it's a screw.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. I mean,
so cool.
I knew that's what it was. I'm just so because it's still load cell based. So it's still pressure. It's a pressure pedal, but you've got the screw in there to adjust, I guess, the throw or how it feels when you push. I mean, I,
The load cell is above; it's in the actual pedal arm, I think.
so, yeah. So it's basically. I mean, like we said before, it's basically force feedback for your pedal. The, the, the direct drive motor is not taking into account anything to do with the force that I'm pushing against it. It's just moving the pedal based on, I guess, the information it's getting from the sim. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It's a no-go for me at this point. It's not at a price point where I would consider it. All right, let's look at the bat wheel, I guess is what I'm going to call this, Brad. It's called the P1 Sim Ascari wheel.
Yeah. So this is from P1 Sim. It's a Formula wheel that has a dash, but it has a DDU, but you can take it out. So the DDU could be removed, and I guess you could just use it as a traditional GT wheel. It's pretty neat. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I'm sure it's expensive as all get out, but this is another one I think that's going to be at ADAC.
Yeah, this company is from France. They had some very unique pedals that had some flair on them, curves. This has a very unique look to it. Like I said, it kind of reminds me of a Batman kind of wheel with the detachable DDU. They certainly set themselves apart from everybody else. I don't think we've seen that before, but I just don't see the application for that. I just don't. Why would I want to have that option? And it looks kind of funky, It doesn't have that. Like we just looked at that, Mercedes F1 replica wheel. That thing looks beautiful compared to this.
Looks like a bow tie.
Okay, Greg, how about Next Level GTE Light Board Edition?
Boy, I wish I could have gotten my sim rig in this color. That blue
It's
is
I know it's an
it's
awesome blue,
so
isn't it?
freaking beautiful. But anyways, so Next Level Racing is posted on their Instagram page. Their GT Elite Ford Edition. But anyways, it's a 80/20 type rig, but it's in the anodized blue, the Ford blue, I would guess is what it is, and then it's got the GT emblem on the side of it with it looks like it makes it look like a racing stripe, but yeah, it's a really nice simple base, I guess, for a rig.
You know, this brand, Next Level Racing, I was this close to buying one of these when I bought my SimLab P1X. This was in the short list in the top three, but I decided against it due to the angled uprights. Now, the one I was looking at wasn't the light version; it was the regular version, and there was just a little bit of flex compared to the SimLab P1X that had no flex, and
Do,
so that's why I went against it.
do they offer does Next Level? I'm not on their site or anything. Do they offer stands and stuff, or is this kind of something somebody would buy if they're using console gaming with a TV, maybe?
They have an integrated stand, I believe,
This one
monitor
obviously,
stand that you
this
can
one
put on
doesn't,
them.
but it looks that blue is I don't know, man. That blue is hard to get over.
It's this very similar to the track racer. It's got the what is it? The TR 160 has that blue.
Alpine,
Yeah, it's that blue.
Alpine.
I love it, but I don't know how many scratches I've put on mine, and mine's black. It'd be like scratching a car. That would drive me crazy.
Does I can't remember what I was gonna ask on that. Does it have a price or anything? Do we have any prices that we've seen?
This is just a tease, so I don't think we have anything yet. All right, all right. Moving on. I found this Lian Lee 0011 Vision Compact PC case, and this is a nice looking case, and it really caught my eye. And as I was building my computer just a few months ago, I was on the search for the best case out there, and with this new one that they've just come out with, this may have taken the number one spot on my list. I mean, boy, it looks really nice.
Yeah, it does. It's very clean. I do like that. I like the whole one side of it. I mean, it's basically one whole side of it's all clear glass. Yeah, it's things have come a long way in the last probably 8, 10 years when it comes to how clean you can get a tower to look. I mean, it used to be you had wires all over the place and you tried your best to try to make things look right, but I mean, like even mine when I built mine, it's super clean compared to what they used to be because you can hide all the cables in the back and do different stuff. Yeah, this thing looks good.
It's kind of like a new style of case that is similar to the case I have, where the power supply is hidden back behind the motherboard, kind of behind in the back of the PC, and it's not up in the front or at the bottom. The other key differences from traditional cases are fans can be in the bottom. There's a spot for them, as well as up the side and across the top. So 3, 6, 9 fans right there. Then you put one on the back, and then you're at 10. So yeah, that's kind of how these roll, and I think it's a new generation of case that has that kind of design where the power supply's in the back behind the motherboard. I really am fancy to that over the traditional ones where the power supply is just sitting in the bottom front.
Yeah, I think mine's in the bottom. So, Greg, I went to Next Level Racing's website. No seat. The GT Elite Ford is $700. Not cheap.
Paying for the blue oval.
Absolutely.
Okay, Brad, that brings us to SimWorks SX02 Edge Simulator.
Yeah, I had an Instagram post here from SimWorks. So this is our latest addition to the SimWorks range, the SX02 Edge Simulator. It's customizable colors and a similar design to our tried and tested M Sport system, but with a focus on creating a more entry-level simulator with a heap of configurations to suit a wide range of budgets. So again, this is it's tubular. It's it's not your traditional tubular. So you've got like a base plate where it looks like that attaches to, which I'm guessing that's where you can change the colors and stuff. But yeah, mm,
It's a hard no for me because of
yeah,
the tubular.
yeah. I mean, it's you can customize it once, but I think that's about all you can be able to customize it.
I don't know. I jumped to their website, Brad, and I mean, it's pretty impressive how you can build these out. I mean, if you really go for it, and then they can do graphics packages on the bottom base part you described. There's also what I call a nose cone or a nose front
Mm-hmm.
for graphics,
I,
and
I'm looking at this and I'm like, it looks cool. The graphics package that they're adding on and making more, they kind of look more like aerodynamic or like design cool for like the spaces. Why hasn't anyone? Maybe I shouldn't say this out loud, and I should start doing it and thinking to myself. But why hasn't anybody designed pieces that attach to 80/20 where you could make your rig like a plate, panels that you could decal or whatever that go around 80/20 to cover it up?
great idea. You know, like armor panels or
Yeah,
something,
you could
right?
have you could sell them as like you could sell like Red Bull. Well, you'd have to get licensed, but even if you sold blank panels, you could get sticker graphics or stuff like that, right?
The one thing I do like about it, as I look at the pictures on their website, is the base is kind of a cool looking base. I don't know, what it consists of, but it looks like there's something to it. Like it's like 6 inches tall or taller. It looks almost like it's got vents or on the back, like it needs to be vented, or there's an exhaust coming out the back almost.
All right, so here's the hard no. Price range: Australian dollars, starting 8,200 up to 18,200.
Well, that's got to be fully loaded though, right? With all that
I
equipment.
um, it better be.
It better be, right? All right, so let's jump to results and talk NASCAR iRacing series. Right, Friday Open. Sorry, guys, I'm delayed there. Friday Open, I ran and had computer issues. So I did a Windows update, and I kept getting crashes as I tried to launch into the sim, or I even had crashes when I wasn't on the sim. It was like bad, like the whole computer would shut down. So I ended up restoring Windows to a previous update, and it fixed the issue. So I'm like, I'm not going to do updates anymore. Forget it.
I raced Friday night too, Mike. I forgot to put it down there, but I started from the pole in my split as the number one car and was involved in turn one, two ish with a bunch of cars, and it broke something. I tried to get it fixed, and then it broke something more, and I killed my I rating and I killed my safety rating all in one race. Everything I worked hard for in a last couple weeks, it's just on road just went kind of down the drain. So yeah, wasn't a good night. I don't remember. I think I finished dead last too.
Okay, and that moved us to Wednesday Open, Las Vegas. I got wrecked out. I had a good first run that came up from 22nd up to about fourth, and then we had a green flag run. The caution came out while I was on pit road. I ended up finishing my stop and getting out quickly and able to take a wave around when everyone else pitted. I was 22nd, got myself up to around 15th, and then I got involved in an incident where a guy got loose in front of me, and then I got kind of ran over, and the car was undrivable at that point. DNF. Tom Dreiling, a P12. Brad Wren, P29.
Yep, Mike and I were in the same race. I started 10th. I ran way too hard the first run. We had a yellow, I guess what, lap 20, 20 something, somewhere around there. I don't know. We pitted and made a quick change to the car. Ran too hard again the second run. Started falling back. Like with Mike, both of us came in the same time to pit. You were ahead of me, and right as we're getting ready to go into pit road, yellow comes out. Pit road's closed. We both enter a closed pit. I managed to speed coming in. So just stupid. Ended up getting trapped a lap down. Ended up playing the strategy to get back on the lead lap, but that last restart I was on probably 20, 25 lap tires, 20 lap tires or something. I don't know. Um, I ended up getting turned coming to the checkers. Oh, look, all in all, every issue I had was self-inflicted, and that's what made me realize last night everything that went wrong with that race was my fault. From running too hard to speeding. It's just one of those races where you just can't do anything right. That's the way it felt.
Swaldron got a P12. Now, I want to tell you, he hurt himself. He smashed his hand or something, or he got poked or cut. And right in the palm of his hand, he had about 4 or 5 stitches, a pretty big old gash. Looked pretty painful, actually. So when Chris got hurt over the weekend, and he's telling us about it, I mean, his only concern was, man, am I going to be able to race? He was telling his doctor, am I going to be able to race on Wednesday? And so, sure enough, with an injury, Chris decided to race. Um, but he got it done Davey Allison style. He stayed out during green flag stops and got a caution. After getting fresh rubber, we had a nice long run to the end and drove up to P12. That's the fastest time in the race and a new IR personal record of 35:22.
I'll tell you what, for a guy that basically runs once a week, he's just continuing to creep, and some of us that run more often just continue to go down.
Well, look, he's often in our splits too, and he's usually in the back early, but survives everything and ends up in the front at the end. So I got to hand it to Chris. I mean, his strategy works. Even though I can't seem to do that, he seems to be able to pull it off. I ran today, Thursday Open at Vegas, got a P9. I actually ran back half of the top 10, basically. I was as high as P2 at one point. Some guy tagged me and I fell back and had damage. And from there, I fell back to P22 on a longer run. It's like last car in the lead lap. I finally caught a caution with 3 to go. And with the subsequent green-white checkers, I was able to make my way back up to finish a respectable P9 with a heavily damaged car. All right, moving on to my FIA F4. I ran P5, started 11th, got up to P6 by the end of lap 1. Was able to not get wrecked and keep it clean from there and finish P5 at Watkins Glen. Then, first race at Montreal, I was shocked. It was raining. I had no idea that they would allow rain in a D series open wheel race.
Did you not
I
check
thought
the?
rain was only for A series.
No, did you not check the forecast?
I didn't, and so I was
Didn't you,
shocked
didn't your
that
mama
it was
didn't your
raining.
mama teach you to check the weather before you go outside, whether or not you need a raincoat or not?
Look, it's always been a dry race in these races. I had no idea that rain was a possibility, but sure enough, at Montreal, it's raining. I started 11th, got to finish 8th. My second race, I started P2. I quickly took the lead, and then I swapped the lead with 2 other cars back and forth throughout most of the race. Eventually reclaiming the lead, and I was able to pull away. bit by bit, eventually winning the race with about a 7-second gap to second place. My 103rd career win with 106 championship points. Man, that felt good to win a race in the rain. It's the first FIA F4 win since season three, or excuse me, since season two. So, man, just really happy with that win. Third attempt, I qualified. Fourth, got to second, spun off on my own at least once, but finished P3. I was finally learning how to drive offline in the rain. Now, thanks to Greg. Greg, you showed up on the stream on TikTok and set me straight. I was braking basically in the groove, and the thing wouldn't break.
You were running the racing line, and in the rain you cannot brake in the racing line, and you cannot touch curbs in the rain.
Yeah, the rubbered up line. There's no traction.
It's so
Once
hard
Greg
to
reminded me,
it's so hard to type and get it to you to talk over TikTok.
well, when you type it, I hear it in my headset. It relays it to me verbally. The
Problem
robot
is
does.
by the time I've typed it, you're already half a lap further ahead from what I told you to do.
But I think I got the message. I finally figured it out that I need to be offline. Is what I figured out. So my fourth attempt, I started P3, got to P2, and on the first lap, about halfway through, I got ran over from a guy from behind who completely missed it. The chicane went flying through the grass and then just wiped me out. I got a fast repair, came out 15th, and somehow worked my way back up to finish P4. What a drive in the rain. Like, I was way faster than everyone in there on wet. And so when I came out 15th after my quick repair, I just started picking them off one at a time. And it's like they're driving in slow motion out there. I don't know if it's because I was confident with what Greg just taught me and just drove by these guys that were still running on the racing line or what. But what a race. Moving on to B Open, Brad, P18, Vegas.
Yeah, so decided to try to pick up the B car again and ran Las Vegas. Felt pretty good. Enjoy the car. They're harder to drive compared to the Cup car, which is basically kind of point and shoot. And in top split, just completely outclassed. Have dropped some IR, but having a good time. That thing is, it's just you really got to wheel the car, which is fun. It's chasing it off a four and back in hanging out, and um, racing's been very good. Pretty clean, not a whole lot of issues, which is enjoyable. But yeah, just kind of want to. I think I'm gonna try to take this once NIS is done. Spend the winter kind of working on my oval iRating, get it up some, and um, just enjoy to go back and drive a car that you got to drive off the right rear as opposed to the right front.
All right. And then other racing I ran and hosted this week. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Chris McGuire hosted. I ran supercars at Michigan and won it. Got a P8 in the 87th at Talladega. Check this out. Started 44th out of a 55 car lap field and finished P8. So 55 cars, 1987s at Talladega. It was a legend. It was legend. I don't think I've ever been in a race with that many cars on an oval track. Well done to those guys who host that nonsense. Then we did radicals at Phoenix. Totally fun. Finished P5 there. Then Delara Dash at Michigan, ran it twice, got wrecked twice. And that brings us to final thoughts, Greg.
Uh, not sure. We got. I guess we got Petit Le Mans this weekend. Running with David and a bunch of, I think Tom and a bunch of guys from the Discord. Um, I was Wednesday night when I went to after running with Brad last week in the top split. something just felt off with me running the Cup car, and I wasn't liking the way it was braking under with my sim coaches. So I went back and I changed the spring setup in my sim coaches and went to a lot softer spring, have more throw in it now to work on the ability of getting into the corner a lot deeper now. I was starting to run a lot better lap times, especially when I ran Sunday morning in the top split race, and those guys were just running 20s and 19s the whole race, and I had to keep pace with them. I know one thing we forgot to talk about. Tom won his Roval race on Sunday morning. I don't think he had it in the thing. Tom Dryling from our team won, so his split. Congratulations to him. But yeah, I'm working on some stuff with my brakes, getting a more feel out of them for the next couple weeks. I'm hoping to test in the next maybe tonight or tomorrow night for Petite Le Mans and see what I can dial in with them as well. Which is why I really like the sim coaches, because I got the ability to play around with it.
Great. Brad Wren, final thought?
Not much this week. Like I said, just trying to kind of experiment a little bit. Got it back in the truck a little bit, and that's where I ran into the issues with the shifter. So um, I'm just running it in sequential right now. Not sure what to do. I'm too scared to put it back into H pattern and end up missing a shift, and I ended up causing an accident in the one truck race I ran. It was too abysmal to even put up in the results. But uh, I don't know. Like I said last week, I'm glad NIS is kind of winding down. Um, Looking forward to the break from that. Looking forward to the winter league that we normally run in. It's fixed setup, so I don't have to spend a whole lot of time thinking about it. Um, yeah, I'm just kind of tinkering and doing what the motorsports season is kind of wrapping up all over the world. So um, in a few weeks, there won't be much to watch on TV, which will suck. But that's wintertime, and that's what it is.
Yeah, the Winter League was announced by Josh Campbell and Alan Pajari earlier this week. They said it's going to be on Mondays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, I think, and that's great because so we're going to run that league on Monday, and I'm going to run on Wednesday night when we normally run NIS. We're going to run Winter NIS, or which is Justin's favorite. And it should be the 87s. There's some rumor that maybe it'll be the Gen 4, but I kind of hope it's the 87s. And this time I'm going to give it a shot. Like last winter, I missed several weeks for various reasons and never really dedicated myself to it like Justin did. So this time I'm gonna run it with Justin and we're gonna get it done. So I hope all the rest of the team joins us. Try to get a one start a week at least over the winter and to see what you think of that 87. Should be fun. Like you said, get away from the grind of it. Winter is a little bit different, but still have stuff to race. My other final thought, man, to win in the rain in the F4 car, I feel accomplished. I really do. I have won in the rain before in the Ferrari Challenge, fixed challenge,
You've done something I
but
haven't.
yeah, and now to win it in the open wheel car, I feel like I've done something. I really do. And it tied me for the lead and the points again. I feel like I might be in contention. I was kind of falling back, but the wind kind of breathed some new air into my sails, and so walking on air after the win and just ready to do it again. So, hey, with that, we'll see you on the track later. Okay, what was that first title?